Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to what was formerly Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune, and now I have a new name called As Above, So Below, Divination for, in this case, the 4th of November, 2021. I've been wanting to change the name of the reading for some time. Initially, I wasn't sure when I was going, how many days a week I would do it. I wasn't sure on what day I could do it. A lot of it was dependent upon what my schedule was around here at the house, but uh, it ended up being 4 days a week, and then it reduced to 2 days a week, giving me more time to do other kinds of work here. But in essentially, what this has always been is the expression of as above energies in the so below realm. And so I think that probably calling it as above, so below, divination for whatever the day, I think that makes more sense than somewhat daily tarot and rune. But that's where this began, and it's ever evolving. So if you're new here or newer here, I appreciate you coming by, and I hope if you haven't clicked subscribe yet, I hope that you will. I take a little bit different view of divination maybe than other people do, but maybe not. Just I suppose it depends on the individual. But I've always been fascinated by how spirit can inform everything that we do, given that that's what we are. We may look like these bodies expressed into form, but in fact we're not. What keeps the body going, what makes the body do anything at all, because it's just a vessel, is the soul that's encased within it, that's infused within it. And so that basically represents the fundamental truth of as above, so below in who we are. I also believe that the only thing that exists is all that is, which is the Creator. However you see that, whatever you call the Creator. To me, it's just easier to think of the Creator as the Great Mother, but that's just me. You can think of that, you can conceive of the Creator as anything you want, as God. You can see it as a male deity. You can do whatever you want to do with that. It's really just how you want to see it. This is just how I do. And I'm not telling you that you have to see anything the way that I do, but that's how I see it. So then everything that we see here is a projection of our own consciousness, our own awareness. And so then everybody within that is simply then the other side of self. It's a projection of what we need to see and how we need to see it on the path that we've chosen while we're focused into form here at this given moment on this particular planet. Are we everywhere else? Yeah, I think we are. I don't think this is the only place we are. And I think that's why we so-called remember things. We're not remembering them. We're just simply, we know them. It's not that we remember. It's that we know because it's part of our experience. Now, because you see lots of different individuals doing the same thing, essentially what we have is a shared experience with one another. So I try to make these readings reflect that. I try to make them reflect a shared experience as well as simply an individual one. Things that seem to impact us in our communities, things that impact us nationally, things that impact us in the world. I'm reminded of when was the flood in the tsunami in Indonesia. Was it 2004 or 2005? That was a collective experience. 9/11 was a collective experiences. The world wars, World War I and World War II, collective experience. And all of these impacted our daily lives. So there's times when the readings will take that into account as well. I don't think you can do this otherwise. I really don't. But let's talk about how I see the runes before we get started here. I've already drawn the Elder Futhark rune and the Geomancy rune. I've not drawn the cards yet. One thing I've been doing is before I start this, I've been doing a benefit and challenge card after the 3 initial cards, because I used to just do 3 cards. If I needed more, I'd take them. But otherwise, I think the runes, in a sense, already do that, already provide that information. So I'm not going to do that anymore. I think I'm just going to start with 3, again, cards. And if I need more to look at something, to get a little more information, we'll just do it on the fly and see what happens. The readings are done cold. I've already done the runes for today, but normally I do that within the reading. The tarot cards are always done cold unless I've had to restart a few times. Sometimes the screen will freeze and you'll see it. And I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to stop, because you'll still hear me say that even though the screen freezes. And then I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to start another video and hook them together. So it may seem a little choppy, but that's why that is, okay? I've gone ahead and rebooted my computer, so hopefully that won't happen today, and I don't have to deal with that. But when I started this, it froze on me, so here we are again. So I'm just starting all over, other than with the runes. I'm going to keep them as the same. Now, the runes, I believe, are a language of spirit. I think they come from the spirit realm when Odin hung upside down from the world tree, sacrificing an eye, calling it sacrificing himself to himself. The Norns were there to give him the runes. And I believe these are energies of spirit. I believe that they play a role in how we see our existence here. And the runes are the language of spirit to do that. Geomancy rune. Geomancy is of the earth, just like pendulum. Pendulum's another, you're basically accessing earth energies when you're allowing the pendulum to swing. And it's basically, this is my yes direction. And then my no direction would be this way. I'll just make it go that way. That's one of the gazillion pendulums I have. Because it's 2 pieces of crystal, though, I don't use it as much. I prefer a single one. But anyway, that's just my preference. But basically, I'm trying to find the interaction between higher self and the ego's perception of things. Okay? And then tarot cards, again, can do the same. You've got the major arcana, which is soul archetype, which would be the spirit level. And then all of the rest, the minor arcana, which includes the court, which is the physical presence and the details of what that looks like. Now, when Odin got the runes, however, the idea was about illumination. And it isn't just for him, it's for all of us. How do we understand our experience here from the standpoint of spirit? Another, and that would be considered Galder magic in terms of Norse magic. Now, Freya is the one, the goddess of she's the goddess of Norse magic, of the scythe side of things, the transwork side of things, also the herbalism side of things, again, more earth-based in that regard. Again, finding that interaction between the two, the as above, so below nature of our existence. So mostly, and I have all my life, worked primarily with runes. At some point in my adulthood, I was interested in tarot when I was younger, in high school, but I still was just pulled to the runes. And so even though I played around with it, I didn't really know it as well as I do now, and I still consider myself a student. So of both, really. So although I work primarily with the runes in terms of rune magic and all of that, creating bind runes and other types of runic spells, I also include tarot and the pendulum work in it as well, to get an understanding of the as above, so below energetic balance in the insights that they provide. So let's go ahead and start today. Again, normally I would pull a rune out of the rune bag. But I've already done that, and I will tell you that it's Gebo. Let me get that off here so I don't look at what I'm writing. And here's Gebo. It is Kenaz in all directions. The light of spirit is Kenaz. Gebo is the gift of balanced energy exchange and reciprocity, the gift of enlightenment, the gift of awareness, the gift of higher self-presence. You see this, you see right here, you see it, that's a less than sign, this is a greater than sign. Kenaz is the greater than sign. Or it can be inverted all over the place. But here we stand in the center and we express that light of spirit to all people. The geomancy rune today is Vaya, or path. It's discovered by these, let's see here, I use 4 elemental geomancy runes. They have a dual dot on one side and a single dot on the other side. This is water. They're put in the, I throw them down, and whatever comes up on, whatever on the surface is what I use. And I arrange them in the order of fire, air, water, and earth. So there's 4 dots or 4 dual dots, in some fashion. Today, they were all single dots, and that represents via or new path or journey or way. So together, what you would then say, the overall premise of today's reading, if you will, let me get my keyboard out of the way here. The overall premise of today's reading is we're on a path of enlightenment and illumination. And what is that going to look like today in terms of our everyday life? How are we going to express that truth, that fundamental shared truth in our interactions with other people, how we see what's going on around us collectively, the more shared aspects of life? Clearly, we've got big things happening, big emotions happening, big different perceptions that are happening that seem to be at odds with one another. That's been going on for several years, intensifying more when the COVID virus hit. Lots of people have a lot of fear about that in one fashion or another. And so sometimes, and the fear is ego-based. Spirit looks at that and goes, oh, that's interesting. What can I learn from that? Ego, on the other hand, brings in fear and the isms of life, basically. And so I want to look at then on this new path of enlightenment and balanced energy exchange with others. It implies that we resolve, or that the resolution of the issues that seem to be separating us here on the material plane, that the answers to that can be found in spirit. So let's go ahead and take the 3 cards and see what they have to say. To see what the I think this card, the 3 of Pentacles we had on Monday, maybe it was either Monday or it was last Thursday or something. But we start out with the 7 of Swords. Now, Swords reflects the air element. And what that means is that it reflects our mental acuities here, both the higher self, well, given that it's not a major card, a card from the major arcana, then technically this is the form side of things. But how we are doing the balanced energy exchange with others certainly is not reflected well in this card, is it? Here we're leveling the playing field. Here we have power. Behind here, the king's men are in their tents. You can see some of them over there, maybe talking about what just happened, but they're basically inside their tent. The battle is over, or they're coming to some place. They're setting up and they're getting ready to go into battle. So this is the intellectual side of self, and we see 7 swords. Now you see a guy here who's carrying off 5 of them, and 2 are still here. But these other 5 used to present this way before he grabbed them. Now, as an author, I also think of this as theft of intellectual property, but realistically, it's about balancing the playing field, about the idea of power that you're having to figure out. You don't have the same level of power as the people in the tent, as the king and the king's men in this case. So what he's trying to do is he's trying to gather up their strategy and understand what's coming. Because maybe the townspeople don't have the same level of armaments, if you will, or ability to. So in other words, they have to understand what's coming in order to provide an effective defense against it. So in that case, there could be something that is working behind the scenes today for you. And with the 7 energy, the 7 numerology of this, you need to step back and take a different look and see it from a different perspective, to gather up whatever information you can in order to make the right decisions for yourself. So that would be one interpretation of this card. Again, the answer is being on a shared path or even an individual path at least, that invokes spirit in all directions. To see with that, what is the higher message of what's going on here. But focused into form, it's you're trying to understand what's going on. And with the 7 energy, it provides that ability to do that. Now, the Knight of Wands is the next card. Knights are from the court. They're older than the page or the princess or the well, it's either called a page or a princess. In the Rider-Waite, it's called a page. Those are students. Those are messengers. Those are people that have undeveloped potential in the same way with the ace of each suit is, in the same way the Fool is in the major arcana. But here, with wands, we're talking about the will or the fire element, creativity, the spark of life. Here, he's on a quest to the Holy Land. He's got a fiery-looking horse, doesn't he? An orangish red horse. But his visor is up, so he's clear-eyed. He's working with clarity here. As he looks back on the picture, which in a sense you have to do here, and tries to understand the overall principle behind all of it. It's a quest for awareness, in a sense. You see the 3 pyramids here at the Holy Land. So this is on a spiritual quest, in other words. So right away, that tells you that the understanding that you need to gain here is a higher level of understanding, seeing the bigger picture in a way that spirit invokes. And then lastly, we have the 3 of Pentacles, suggesting the transactional nature of our lives. Pentacles is the earth element. It's the so below aspect of the as above, so below experience that we have. He's making he's plying his trade. He's doing something there with respect to his trade. And 2 women have come by to admire his work. Maybe he's a mason. Maybe he's somebody who does this type of ornate brickwork, this structure. But you can also think about the transactional nature of your existence with this card. Are you in balance? Are you in Gebo? In other words, with other people? Are you interacting in a way that's with integrity and purpose to help make life easier, not only for yourself, but others in form? Overall, we have a 7 and a 3 that adds to 10, which is an interesting number. Which I will show you here. Similar to the rune de Gaz, when you see the X, it's also Gebo. All right? If you write it out in a Roman numeral. If you terminate the ends, however, you have de Gaz, which is a new day. It's one period ending and another beginning. One rune master calls this energy at its saturation point becomes its opposite, which I thought was fascinating. If you reduce it down to 1, again, you have new beginnings, you have wholeness, you have unity consciousness. So again, understanding the unified picture of something is a valuable tool to have, a valuable awareness to have. And I think that that's really the overall understanding of today's runic and tarot influences, is that you need to step back. And in a sense, that's what the Knight is doing here. It's going backwards in time, looking at the past to try to understand the greater present moment experience you're having, which can then inform future experiences. But again, there really is only the now. There's really only the now and the present moment. Everything else is either over with and done with and already experienced, or the future are a series of probabilities that we can choose from and create an outcome from. So my sense is that for today's reading, and hopefully what can drive home what I've said in the beginning of this, is that we need to see the overall picture in whatever's happening today, whatever that is, whatever it happens to apply to. Whether you're watching the news and seeing something there, look beyond, look for more information to either align with or to disagree with or whatever, to try to understand the full picture here. It doesn't mean that all factors that you see are correct. Okay, don't think that. These are simply, if you think about everything that we experience as the outcome of perception. It doesn't necessarily, if we're dealing from the standpoint of perception, what if ego is what's primarily influencing that? Then you have your own agenda or the agenda of others guiding how you see things. So if the notion is in an as above, so below reading to understand how spirit can influence our perceptions of what's going on, then you understand that that's where it begins, is it begins in spirit, instead of beginning with the ego. And the idea then is to transmute ego into spirit so that ego is no longer a factor in how you see your experiences, how you see the world, how you see your family, how you see your role in society, in other words, the below aspect of your expression, of the soul's expression, I should say, into form. And today, it would suggest that the path that we're on needs to be one that expresses enlightenment, true soul level enlightenment to others, or to have that be our fundamental resonance in as we go about our day, that we are invoking at all times from spirit instead of from ego. So I guess that's it as far as the influences that we need to be thinking about. Again, the Seven of Swords is leveling the playing field via stepping back and gaining a broader understanding of both sides of the equation, if you want to look at it that way. Then taking in what we know, our fundamental awareness as to what the overall picture is. I think that in terms of our creative expression, I think the Knight of Wands explains that quite well. And then invoking all of that into form, into some kind of balanced energy exchange with other people. Triplicities, the 3, is about that. It's about a mind, body, spirit balance. But it's not just that. It's the one we share together in the body of humanity as expressed into form. So I hope that this is interesting to you to think about it this way. I tend to, over time, just start talking as if people know what I'm talking about. And most of the time I'll explain things, but then it occurred to me that maybe I need to actually restructure this from a different standpoint. So that's what I've done here today. And going forward, that's how we're going to look at things. We're going to look at this specifically from an as above, so below understanding. And we're going to use runes, both from the Elder Futhark and Geomancy runes, along with tarot cards, to understand what the collective energies are at that moment of the reading, and the kinds of things we can be focusing on in the day or staying alert to. So that's it for today, and we'll come back together again on Monday and do this all over again. And so be thinking about that, thinking about how you can express spirit or invoke, the soul into everything that you perceive and all of the interactions that you have between now and Monday. Well, always, but between now and Monday. See how that goes. See how that resonates for you. And we'll talk again then. Look for the Esoteric Influences to come out if you are a newsletter subscriber. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. And the sign-up's over on the blog at steppingaside at imsteppingaside.com. Links are below the video here. And put your email in there, and you can get the Esoteric Influences for the coming week in your inbox on Saturday, or you can just wait for them to be on the blog on Sunday. I do a magical recommendations for the week based on the Esoteric Influences. That goes over on Patreon. If you want to join me over there, it's $1 a month to do that. And let's see, I also write over on Medium. I post some stuff over there, so you can find me there. But I guess that's it. The forecast goes up on the blog, which is the really long one. It's an esoteric forecast. Has both esoteric astrology, has rune divination, it has numerology, it has, magical correspondences, all of that stuff. The rays, the cosmic rays are in there. Black moon, Lilith, the ascendant, the nodes, all of those influences are in there. You can see that Monday through Friday over on the blog. And I guess that's it. Lots of things to look at and think about and be aware of. And so be good to yourself. Be good to one another. We'll talk again on Monday. And blessed be.